Move it, baby. Move it, body. Move it, baby. Move it, body. move it, baby. Move it, body.
Now here live with Paige Pierce for the U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship press conference. First of all, Paige, congratulations on the victory last weekend. Tight turnaround time and kind of a lot to get to this week. How are you feeling just one day before competition?
Oh, yeah, I feel good. I feel ready to play. Tomorrow's coming up quick, and I'm glad I got to see all the courses twice. So, I feel ready and ready to attack.
And we will ask you about the golf and everything too, but obviously, the whole world, I think the whole disc golf world saw some of the comments on social media. Just kind of wanted to talk to you about that, the comments you were making, the time, the compressed time to practice the 3 courses, just kind of give you a platform to speak a little more to some of your concerns.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, that it just shows you how much disc golf is growing. Because back in the day when I first started touring, I mean, even before that, it was even more so, but just to speak on my own experience, when I first started touring, there was a national tour. There wasn't even the pro tour, actually. So the national tour events would be 4 weeks apart, 5 weeks apart. And now with the disc golf pro tour and the national tour and majors, there's tournaments every single weekend. And, luckily with this event, it was only 70 to 80 miles away from our previous event. But still, we have to get here, and a lot of us want to take a break. We just played a 15,000 foot course 3 days in a row, plus the prior 4 days of practice. So our bodies are tired. We're wore out. We're athletes trying to compete. A lot of players want to get massages, chiropractic work done, acupuncture, whatever they do. And we don't have time for that. We don't have time to grocery shop. We don't have time to do anything besides see these 3 courses if we want to be prepared for this major championship. So, like I said, a blessing and a curse that disc golf is growing. There's more and more events, but I think that it is a standard that we need to address, that we cannot be playing 3 courses. I know that this is my opinion. And that's kind of why I was going on social media, to kind of see, are other people in the same mindset as me, or am I just feeling this way? And my thoughts with this was to take the feedback that I was getting and make a folder of it, of all the women that feel countless messages saying, I was actually going to attend the event, but I couldn't make it feasible to take off with enough time to practice, travel, and play the event. And that, to me, is a problem, because growing up, I would play events, only events I was playing at a younger age was all women's events, Texas Women's Championship, Disc Girls Gone Wild, and then the U.S. Women's. And that was like revolutionary for me to see how many women gathered together to play a tournament. And I think that, a lot of women get discouraged because they're one of 4 women at the tournament. But when they come to an event like this and you're surrounded by tons of women, it's empowering. And so I want to see our major taken more seriously, and I want to see the number of courses limited down so that players can get more practice in on the course, or that traveling players can come here with enough time that they don't have to take off from work too much time.
You said you've been collecting some of the feedback and storing it. What in your mind are kind of next steps to help implement these changes or get the ball rolling on some of the changes that you'd like to see?
Yeah, I mean, I'm only one voice. So my thoughts are, and I want to stress that this is, other than this press conference, I'm attempting to get this all out of my mind at least until Monday. I know that I'm not going to be as effective on the course if I'm trying to be the spokeswoman for women's disc golf. So It's hard to manage right now, but yeah, I'm having my assistant screenshot all the messages, put them into a folder, and the next step is to file formal feedback and to not just do it from me and from my screenshots, but when the people send a message like that, for me to reach out to them and say, hey, if you feel strongly about this, I encourage you to put in feedback as well. So I think that that's our next step and the most professional way to handle it. And I hope that the PDJ listens, because this has been an issue since I can remember. Actually, back in 2011 is when I started playing major championships, and every year the U.S. Women's gets 3 courses. The courses aren't closed. There's countless locals out here clogging up the course. We're getting here at 7 a.m. and we can't even get a practice round in. So it's something that really does need to be addressed. And this is not a knock at the host at all. And I think it is very difficult to run an event, because we're seeing bids for Worlds come in and there's only 2 bids. There's only 1 bid. There's been a few majors where we've had to go with that major because it was the only one that was bidding. So I want to apologize to the host. If you think or thought that my comments were directed at you, I apologize from the bottom of my heart. This is not a reflection of you. This is just a standard that I think we need to address, because yes, there are some women, not just women, there are some players that when they go to a tournament out of town, they want to see all the courses that the city has to offer. And I understand that aspect, but at the professional level, I think that should be eradicated. That is something that we're not coming into the town to go sightseeing all of the courses. We are trying to learn the course to the best of our abilities, because at the end of the day, we are entertainers. We are trying to perform to the best of our ability on the course at hand, and the best way we can do that is if it's 1 course or 2.
Let's talk about performing on the courses at hand. Like you said, there are 3. What's at the top of your outline of your course notes for each of these? We'll start on Auburn, then we'll move over here to Shady Oaks, where we currently are, and then finish at the Rockland.
Okay, so my notes for each course?
Yeah, top line.
Auburn, you said start on Auburn. That one is the most difficult for me, as far as I think that's the course I'm going to shoot the worst at. It has the most tricky lines. There's some holes, hole 3 in particular, it's just not even a real disc golf hole. Sorry, Auburn locals, but what are you supposed to do on that hole? Yeah, there's certain shots out there where I'm going to hit first available, and I know that. So it's going to be scramble golf and trying to save my pars. There's some other holes where there's some tricky OB over sidewalks. You really have to have the caddy book at hand, because some of the sidewalks aren't OB, some of them are OB. So that is one I'm going to have my caddy book glued to my hand and just try to be the most at ease, because I know that I'm going to get at least 1 or 2 bogeys over there. So when that happens, to just breathe through it and not panic. Shady Oaks, we're here currently. This is my favorite of the courses. The back 6 holes are extremely beautiful. When I was actually driving by, did not know this was a disc golf course, and I was like, wow, I want to throw discs right there. That looks beautiful. And so I ended up coming over here and playing, and I fell in love with the back 6 holes. The front 12, there's some blind shots that you have to study them, and I'm glad I got enough time to play 2 rounds here, because there are those blind shots. And then over at Rockland, which is where we're going to end the event, I hope to shoot 13 under par there. It's a very easy track. There's not many OB shots. There's not danger. I'm throwing a hyzer on almost every hole, so thank you for the Texas growing up, Dad, Texas hyzers. And yeah, I expect to see at all 3 of the courses, like I said, a putt off. So whatever woman is hitting their putts, I think Ohn and Missy Gannon are top contenders this week.
All right, Paige, you talked about the growth and, coming off a very successful record-breaking women's global event. record numbers out here for this event. What is the state of women's disc golf right now, and what is the next step that we're going to take to build on this growth?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, every year it's growing. The Women's Global just is a testament to that, something Valerie Jenkins started way back when, and every year we've increased those numbers. So it goes to show you that there are not only a lot of women in the sport of disc golf now, but a lot of women in the competitive side of the sport. And that is, again, another reason why we should be taking these events more seriously. And I really hope that the PDJ hears our feedback and understands that we want to be taken more professionally, and we have the skill sets to prove that we have outgrown courses like these.
Yes. Well, your feedback has been heard and will continue to be heard for sure. Just going back to the event, we have PGA number 68 playing.
Wow.
And PGA number 178948 playing. So
that is incredible.
Over 16 fields. So, just this weekend and just a celebration of women's disc golf. What are you most looking forward to seeing, from PGA 68 all the way to Junior 12?
Yeah, it's incredible. You're seeing little girls out here, and then you're seeing a lot more older women out here practice putting. I just walked by the practice green and I saw this woman with white hair, and not sure what her age is, but I saw this woman with white hair bang a 40-footer. And so, it just goes to show you that there's so many types of different players that play disc golf, and that is the beauty of our sport. So, like I was saying earlier, this is how I got into the sport enthusiastically, was at women's events, Texas Women's and Disc Girls Gone Wild. So I hope that the pros that come here can open their minds and their hearts to the other women out here and encourage them to keep playing more tournaments and show them that, just how great the women's only tournaments are and how important that they should feel here.
Thank you. Mahmoud, you got one for Paige.
Paige, obviously you've won everywhere and can win everywhere. There's no doubt about that. You're one of the best putter throwers out there. But do you think that these courses being basically par 54, do you think that opens the field up to a bunch more women? How many women do you think can win this event this weekend? If you had to put a number on it.
Okay, that's a tough. How many women can win it? There's 65 women, right? So 65. To answer it simply, I think, like I said, it's going to be a putt-off this week. I think, the throwers like myself, Kona Panis, Ella Hansen, Catrina Allen, we don't really have that big of an advantage on a lot of these holes out here. And that's okay. I still feel like we are at the, myself, Kona, and Catrina. With that being said, we are still at the top of the threat list, I would say, just because we have experience winning more tournaments. But to answer your question more simply, anyone can come out here and win this tournament. This is a course where if you get close and you hit your 15-footer, you're going to get a birdie. So I'm curious to see how it's going to shake up, honestly, and I'm ready to get this thing rolling.
All right. Thanks, Paige. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now here with Kona All-Star Panis, head of the U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship. We talked to Paige a little bit about some of her comments regarding the venues here and some of the concerns she expressed. Noticed you had also spoken out on social media about some similar things. So just wanted to give you the same opportunity to kind of speak a little bit to your points.
Yeah, when we showed up to these courses, after playing Swenson disc golf course, it was kind of just like we were taken back. It almost felt like we went back in time a little bit. And I don't have anything against these courses. I think they're actually really good for our amateur women and maybe our women who are just getting into the sport and maybe looking to go FPO one day. I think they're very friendly for those kind of women, but the FPO are playing at a different level. I feel like they didn't utilize a lot of the pin positions. I feel like the courses were maybe fine, but put them in the longs. Give us the challenge of placement golf and putting it in the correct position to get that birdie or to get that par, which I feel like they didn't utilize a lot. Yeah, there's just a lot to improve upon, but Paige and I have already talked. We're going to forget about it for now. We're going to do our best, play these courses the best we can, and then after the event's done, we can talk to PDGA afterwards, Until then, I'm excited. I see so many women out here, like you guys have already talked about. This is a huge showing for the United States Women's Disc Golf Championship, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, and let's use that segue into growth because, not only are so many women getting into the sport at all levels these days, but like you said, there has been differences in venues along the way, especially since you've been on tour. And I'm just wondering your thoughts on that. How have you seen some of the courses evolve, and what are kind of the big challenges that you look for as an FPO competitor these days? What challenges you?
Definitely woods challenge me personally because I'm such a big arm. I love those wide open courses like Swenson, but coming from, just a few years ago, we see these bigger pars. We see these courses where we're given the opportunity to maybe throw far. And I feel like, Hailey and I have been throwing so far lately, and we both have talked how our distance just seems to be getting better and better, and we're pushing ourselves to do that. In courses, I feel like you said, like I've already mentioned, just like we're having to throw farther, having to do these different shots, and it just feels like I said, we feel like we're going back in time with these shorter courses, but you know what? They'll challenge me. And I've heard a few people already message me and they're like, you know what? You better shoot 30 down this weekend to, back that up. And, I may not do that. It's all about the putting for me. And I think like Paige just said, it's going to be a putt off this weekend. So I may not shoot that 30 down, and these short courses might challenge my short game, but it's just not at the level I think we should be going.
What are some of the holes on any of the three courses that we're going to play this weekend? What are some of the ones you're kind of looking for that's saying, hey, that's not necessarily my skill set, I got to watch out or kind of pick my spot to attack?
So Auburn has a few tricky holes out there, like with several different fairways. It's like you're like, okay, I could throw that backhand, or I could throw like a roller, or I could throw this forehand. So I feel like for me, it's going to be committing to the shot and committing to which line I actually want to take to get the highest percentage shot. But definitely Auburn for me. Holes in particular, I think it's hole 4 at Auburn. It's a pretty, so you can see the hole right there, and it's a little bit downhill, but like there's this right hand gap, but then there's also this left hand gap. And Ohn and I talked yesterday, and it's just like you got to play every single one of them. So yesterday I felt like I was throwing a lot of different shots at Auburn for my second practice round. So, yeah.
And kind of last question for me, do you agree with Paige's assessment that, the Rockland course is going to be the easiest to get low under par? And if so, where would you like to be to have a comfortable spot to attack that course for the final round?
Gosh, I hope I'm, top 10, top 15 going into that course, because like Paige said, there's going to be so many birdies out there. I practiced it, and I believe I shot like 7 down, and I felt like I left a few out there still. It feels like a lot of the same shots. I feel like I walked 3 or 4 holes like back to back, and it was the same turnover. So a lot of the same shots, and they all seem to be pretty reachable. So like she said, I think I might need to shoot double digits to secure that top 5 finish that I want.
Kona, you were just talking about the record growth in disc golf right now. It's obviously big in women's disc golf too. Women's global event, this event, all record setting. What is the state of women's disc golf right now, and what is it going to take it even to the next level? Well, what are you hearing from ladies and girls out there when you're on the course or on social media about women's disc golf?
Yeah, it's insane the amount of women getting into the sport right now, and I've seen a lot of it. I'm all over social media, obviously, and on Instagram I see so much of it just in like the followings and the ladies messaging me. I'm getting more and more women saying, oh, I found it during the pandemic, and how do I throw this shot, or how do I, what disc selection should I do, what what disc molds should I be getting into, and I'm getting so many recommendations, and I think the Disc Golf Pro Tour has been doing such an amazing job broadcasting and promoting the women on tour and on the road. And I just see it going even further. I think people like Hailey King and our younger women are going to be the ones to really push it, because, you know, they're getting them involved and they're getting the other women, you know, hyped up and excited to maybe go into the FPO division and make that next step.
Have you seen any ladies or juniors out there playing, you know, practicing this week and just had a moment like Paige said she saw an older lady hit a putt? And
No way.
was that inspiring to you, or have you seen any of those moments out there?
I've seen a lot of groups, like just like on the road, you don't see a lot of just groups of women, and for me it's pretty cool to see just like 4, you know, women after women, group after women after women, and it's huge. Like last week at Swenson, I had a camera woman. She was part of the GK Pro group, and I like went out of my way, and I'm like, hey, we don't have a lot of camera women on the road. Like it's nice to see you out here. And so just seeing all the women out here playing disc golf, it's huge. It's exciting for me personally.
Awesome. Thank you, Kona.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just one little final follow-up here, kind of back to the courses. Break down sort of your big overarching strategy. You know, if you had to write 1 or 2 sentences about each course, what are you looking to attack at each one?
For me, it's going to be staying in bounds. I have Colton on the bag this week, which is going to be awesome, but I'm going to have him looking at the caddy book on every single hole, because I played at Goat Hill and I remember I missed like a Mando or something, and I was like, like I didn't study hard enough. So having him with me and every single hole letting me know, like, you know, what's going on. Is this an island? Is there an OB? Is there other things going on? But, you know, on this course specifically, it's going to be staying in bounds and obviously hitting my lines, but I'm not throwing a lot of drivers on this course, Shady Oaks. Auburn, I'm not throwing a lot of drivers. It's a lot of fairways, except for, I think, one of the huge par 4 or 5s, I'm throwing a driver. And then I think at Rockland, I am not throwing a lot of drivers. So for me, this is weird. I'm used to just bombing drives, and I won't have that advantage of distance. And I think that's going to be a huge challenge for me this weekend.
Last question. You started off 2021 with the All-Star Weekend win on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. You then were able to capture your first tour win down in Waco. I mean, obviously the next logical step is a major. How much does this mean to you, and what would it mean to take this home?
You know, this year's been really huge for me mentally and physically, and I've changed my diet, I've changed the way I practice and how I approach disc golf, and to win a major is just another bucket list thing to do for me. And to win the United States Women's Disc Golf Championship would be even bigger for myself, and then also just for my family. They've let me live my dream on the road, and they really just kind of let me go. You know, they weren't like, go to college, do this, which I plan to go to college one day, I promise. But yeah, it'd be huge for myself and my family.
After the major, then you get the diploma, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Kona.
Thanks, guys.
Move it, baby. Move it, body. Move it, baby. Move the body.
All right, here with Jessica Weese representing NorCal at the U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship. First of all, how good does it feel to be home?
Oh man, it feels good. I get to see all my friends, my family, and of course my dog at home, so I'm very happy.
I know you're super excited to play at Swenson last weekend because of that, and now you're even closer to your backyard. You're obviously very familiar with these courses. What's the feeling coming back and getting to play courses that you've competed on for such a long time, but now at the highest level?
Well, I mean, it feels great to have all the support. I definitely have people from all surrounding counties, all surrounding states even, that come up to me and give me full support. I get a lot of messages on Facebook, on Instagram, and I got to give a shout out to all those people because, all the love really means the world and just makes me feel like I'm loved.
All right, I won't ask you to give away all your secrets because I know you need to keep some of the local knowledge for yourself to help you out, but break down these courses. We'll be at Auburn for the first day, then Shady Oaks, then Rockland to finish. What's kind of your game plan? How are you going to attack?
So, Auburn is probably the closest course. I'd say it's my third home course, so it's about 20 minutes from home. I've played it a lot, and I know there's a little bit of elevation out there. There's some large rocks that can kind of come into play and a little creek that runs through the course. So I know that there's a lot of walking paths out there. So got to avoid those. And, I've played these courses so many times. It's just really a matter of feeling comfortable out there and executing.
Is there a disc in your bag that you threw at one of these courses for a tournament, like way back when, that you're like, I still have this for Shady Oaks Hole 7 or whatever it may be?
I switch out my discs a lot, but I definitely have a Roadrunner in my bag. It's my flippy dog, and I've had it forever. And I have a super flippy Vulcan that I've actually had for over 6 years, maybe 7 years. So, it's been in the bag. It's been a staple. It's now become a roller disc. And I'm sure they'll come and play.
Is Mom going to be on the bag this week?
My mom's actually helping Jenny Nisley this weekend run the tournament, so I know I'll be seeing her out there helping, volunteering, but I'm going to have my friend Bradley Inman. He is actually mini girthy. I swear, he looks just like Garrett, and he wants to be Garrett's little minion, so I'm really stoked to have him on the bag, and I'm really excited.
Awesome. Last question for me is, being so close in the backyard obviously gave you good vibes. You came out and shot a great round last weekend. How do you propel that energy into this major championship, and what would it mean to win a title of this caliber right in your own backyard?
I'm just really excited to be back out here. My game has obviously exceeded since I played here last, so I'm going to throw similar shots, but I'm also going to look at shots that I've never even thought about before, and I'm very excited because I have more power, I have more disc, I got more game. Bring it. Let's go.
Yeah, just tell us about NorCal golf. It seems like there's a lot of pride out here. It's very competitive. Volunteers everywhere. What's the scene like?
The scene is a lot of old school golfers. A lot of people throw Innova out here, so I feel the love being on Team Innova for I think the last 7 years. So, I feel the love out here. I got Team Innova supporting, and so many of my friends have already come up to me and told me how much they believe in me, and it just means a lot.
Varsity's been talking about how it's hard to win in this area. Is that true? And how has that helped kind of shape your game coming up in this competitive scene?
Well, growing up, I used to compete with probably 5 or 6 of the same exact women week in to weekend out. And for the men, obviously, it's a lot harder to win in Northern California because how tight and technical these courses really are, how much it really takes a consistent putt to be able to execute out here. And I know Barsby is a great player, and he loves the courses out here, so I'm sure he would do just fine. I know St. Patty's, it's like the back of our hand. We play it every single year pretty much, so I'm just really excited to be out here.
How would you describe the state of women's disc golf right now? Just, record-setting numbers out here, record-setting numbers at the WGE. It's just exploding everywhere. So how would you describe it?
Women's disc golf is absolutely booming. Man, I can't describe how many women have come into the sport and just exceeded well over what, I thought people could do in a matter of time. And, I'm sure they've proved to themselves that they could do some stuff that they never thought that they could do before, too. So that's really cool.
Mahmood, anything for Jess?
Yeah, Jess, there are a lot of young up and coming at this event. Who's your favorite young player that maybe the general disc golf public doesn't know about, but you're really excited for their future in the sport?
There is one little girl that I'm absolutely excited for. She's playing this weekend. Her name is Allison Menchaca, and she is competing in one of the age-protected divisions, but she has also been a tournament director before, and she runs her very own tournament. And I think she's only 13 years old right now, and she is absolutely incredible. The support that she has from her family is amazing, and I know she's going to do great this weekend. Good luck, Allison.
Thank you, Jessica.
Before we let you go, just a shot or a flight line or a disc, if you could kind of break down each of these 3 courses into kind of the one big thing, your big key to win that day, what's it going to be?
I know there's a lot of sidearms out there to execute. There's a lot of flexi shots. So it definitely takes some understable discs out there. I hope you brought them. And it's all about clutch putting. I mean, they say drive for show, putt for dough, and there's nothing more to be said about that.
All right, final question. Rockland is going to be a track where I think a lot of scores could happen on that final day. Where would you like to be sitting to kind of be comfortable taking a stab at taking it all home?
I'm really just going to take one hole at a time. I hope to be sitting at the top, but wherever I find myself, I'll be happy because these are my home courses. I'm just happy to be out here competing 100%. I'm not injured, so I'm very excited.
All right. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move it, baby. Move it, body. move it, baby. Move the 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 body. move it, baby. Move it, body. Move it, body, body, move it, baby. Move it, body.
All right, here with Lisa Fajkus ahead of the 2021 United States Women's Disc Golf Championship. We were just kind of chatting about last week at the OTB Open, Swenson Park versus these courses that you're going to see. Very different courses. You came in 5th last weekend, really good showing. How are you going to kind of turn it around and just throw that game plan out and have a new one?
Yeah, so like you said, these are park courses compared to maybe like a more ball golf style course that we see a lot on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And I really like park courses. It kind of takes distance away and makes you hit those lines. And that's kind of where I grew up back home in Texas. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to like attacking, leaving the game plan behind from last weekend. I mean, it's not about distance, like I said. It's more about hitting those lines. I'm throwing a lot of different frisbees or discs this weekend, more understable to flip up and attack the fairway really nice. So looking forward to it.
A lot of the comments so far on the layouts this weekend have been that it's going to come down to a lot of putting, which obviously should put you in the conversation for names to watch this weekend. You know, how much of that do you find to be true versus kind of getting in position off the tee?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's completely true. Like whoever has the hot putter is really gonna shine because it takes both. I mean, like to put a really solid score down. There's so many birdies to get out there, and you can get them in a variety of ways. You don't have to park every hole. You can make a really good putt and score. So putting is key.
We were talking about Shady Oaks just before we started the interview, and funny enough, you and I were actually here competing at the same tournament the last time back in 2018.
Nice. Yep.
One big takeaway I'll always have from this particular course is fast greens. You know, maybe a little reminiscent of what we'll see at De La next weekend.
Yeah.
You know, kind of talk a little bit about that and how you plan to control speed and get those putts.
Great question. So I did notice when I was practicing out here, especially at Shady, about the fast greens. So angle control is like super important. Taking that slow putter and reversing the angle of the green so it can slowly slide in. So you're not matching the slope of the green and potentially just going really far away from the basket. You know, and there's OB that comes into play sometimes close to the basket. So that makes it extra important that you're actually laying up properly and putting the correct angle and power behind your disc. So
Rockland seems to be a course that a lot of people are targeting for low rounds and really trying to make a move on that final round. Do you have a game plan going into that course, and where do you want to be come the final day?
Rockland is pretty flat, I noticed, so very scoreable. And yeah, I mean, I've got a couple practice rounds at the courses, got to see them, but they're relatively new to me. Game plan is, you know, just I got a disc. I'm throwing a lot of Mambas, I found, actually, and I really like that. I like that disc, and I like the way it flies in the fairways. So just trying to throw good shots, focus really hard, and just be present for all my shots, and that's my biggest game plan.
And we said, just kind of going back to the variety of the courses that y'all are playing, how important is it to have a place like this out on tour, coming from Swenson or, going from Texas States and how tight that was to DDO. So how important do you think is that variety out on tour?
I love variety out on tour. Like, I do feel at home out here. I like these courses. I like how they're park-style courses. We don't always get that on tour, so something that reminds me of these courses is Hornet's Nest in North Carolina, Charlotte, and it kind of similar in those ways that it's a park course, but we don't see that a lot on tour. So, like I said, it's good to have variety to skip up the beats. It's not all about par fives and who can throw the farthest every hole.
You had some solid finishes out so far this season. What are some things you're working on? What are some things that are working well for you so far?
Yeah, I'm actually, right now, I'm focused on putting and just getting a couple of really good putting sessions in before the tournament starts, and just feeling really confident with that. I want to put a couple practice, just some time in for that. I'm really focused on my putting, like always. And beyond that, just mental game, keeping a level head out there and trying to not let stuff affect me.
Obviously the women's, U.S. women's, kind of a celebration of women's disc golf from, we got FJ12 to FPO. I mean, what's it been like just seeing these cards of women just attack these courses in practice and get ready for this event? It's
special out here. I've met some new ladies and young, old, all from all over. It's an exciting time to be out here. It's about camaraderie and coming together with the ladies. So, you don't really get that a lot of places. So, really want to embrace that. And, just like I said, embrace it. And it's really special.
Mahmoud, anything for Lisa?
Yeah, Lisa. These last 2 weeks, you played really well on ball golf courses, which I don't think you would say that your strength is your distance. I know you think, like, everyone knows that your strength is your putting. What's been the secret to kind of playing so well on these ball golf courses? Yeah, just my off season, I did a lot of practice and worked on driving and worked on power and just hitting lines. So being in Vegas for a lot of the off season, I just kind of brought that with me on tour. Just working on stuff, trying new discs, always trying new things and seeing what's working. And, something I've tried lately has been working, so I just want to keep doing that. I feel like my power has increased a little bit off the tee, and I'm throwing consistent shots. And so that's really key, and that really helped me score well on the ball golf courses. Yeah, and given how well you've been playing, and given how good of a putter you are, everybody's been saying that it's a putter's course. Do you think that, how excited are you this weekend that you might be able to come away with a major championship? It's super exciting, but I can't get too ahead of myself. I'm overly excited to think about that. So can't really open that can of worms yet too hard, but to be honest, it's incredibly exciting. So awesome. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, thanks, Mo.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Good luck this weekend.
Appreciate it.
move it, baby. Move the body. Move it, baby. Move the body.
And now here with Ohn Scoggins. And Ohn, we were just talking a minute ago. You said you're a little sore, arms a little tired. Have you been playing some long courses or something lately?
Yeah, because last week I played OTB. It was like so long, and I tried to throw as far as I can, but still 310, 320, whatever. But yeah, I still sore from there. But luckily this weekend is not that long as OTB course, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, 310, 320 of distance should be plenty out on a lot of these holes. Where are you going to look to take your advantages on these courses?
I think I try to get advantage on this course, Shady Oak, and then Alban, you call it, right? Alban. So Rockling, and maybe just a lot of par for me. So I try to play good on these two courses, like Shady Oak and Alban course, yeah.
So when, break down Shady Oaks, this will be the moving day round on Saturday. What do you like about the course? Is it one where you have to start fast, or is it one where you can kind of take your chances in certain spots?
You know what, because this course we have everything. We have some hole is open, some hole is technical, some hole is just you have to nail the gap. So that's why I think it's not just only benefit for the people who throw shot like me, but benefit for a lot of female who like not throw far, who like throw very accurate and putt good. A lot of people gonna have more chance. Doesn't matter because these three course, I don't think you need too long throw. What do you call? Mm-hmm. You don't need to have a big arm to win this tournament. So that's why we have 63 LPO. I think every one game. So even you throw short or throw far, you can win. Yeah.
Well, certainly if you're putting well too, and you've proven this year to be an excellent putter on all kinds of courses. So, do you like that little card you have in your pocket being such a great putter?
I mean, it's helped a lot. I'm not gonna lie, because sometimes I throw not too far, but if I can make a jump putt, I can make 2 or 3 like a lot of people too. So I think especially in these two courses like Shady Oak and Alban, I think you have to be accurate and good putt. So whoever hit the gap, good putt, I think it's gonna take down this weekend.
And talk about, of course, it's the United States Women's Championship, so it's all women in the field this weekend. Just kind of talk about the vibe. How is it different when you're practicing, say, compared to a pro tour event where you have both the men and women on the course? What has it been like this week?
I think it's very, I think it's very fun because I see a lot of all kind of division. Like 2-3 days ago, I saw APO 60, APO 70, advanced woman, so the beginner, like a rag woman. So we have all kind of APO here or advanced here and there. I just like to see different kind of APO feel, or what you call disc golf woman feel, because normally when you go to pro tour, you only see APO woman. You not see all kind of variety of disc golf women, so that's why I love about disc golf women championship, because like I said, we have a lot of women out here, so the more women, the more fun. So yeah.
Mahmoud, anything for Ohn?
Yeah, we're almost at the halfway mark of the season. We're probably about a third away there. But like, what's this touring experience been like for you? This is your first year on tour.
I mean, it's fun. I love touring, I love camping, I love to explore outside the world, and to just see a lot of states. Normally when I'm working, I always just working. I live in Los Angeles, but when I'm touring, I can see a lot of states, see a lot of beautiful stuff, different state, different beauty. So I love about touring. And when I'm a camping girl, so it's nothing problem. I can camp anywhere, I can sleep everywhere. So yeah, that's a tour life, so I'm loving it.
Awesome. Hopefully we can see you out there next year as well. One more follow-up question. You mentioned you're from LA, and there's a lot of the similar kind of trees out here to LA, like the low-hanging trees. It kind of looks like Chavez Ridge a little bit. Do you think you have a little bit of, I know it's not exactly SoCal, but do you feel like you have a little bit of like the home course advantage because you know how to play around these kind of trees?
I mean, it's helped a little bit. So, but like I said, I live in Los Angeles. We don't have much tree out there. So a lot of people think we have a lot of tree. No, we from desert. So a lot of them is just like little tree here and there. But I think here is more tree than LA. So my home court is from Oak Grove. So Oak Grove is not much tree, but I learned some sidearm from there. I think it's helping me this weekend for sure with some sidearm, backhand here and there. So I'm very excited. So let's go.
Got one more question for you, Ohn. Talk a little bit about the NorCal-SoCal rivalry. You're from LA, and it is a little bit of a different style of golf, but it's also just two very big scenes with very, a lot of great golfers. Have you experienced kind of the Northern California, Southern California rivalry in your career?
You mean the competitor?
Yeah.
I mean, of course. Of course, because you know what? Because here's the thing: we have whoever from north, they're very good about wood course for sure, because from north a lot of wood, so they know how to throw with the wood court very well. They hit the line very well. So from the south, where exactly? Maybe throw farther. Most of them they throw far. So you have like who throw very good from the wood, and then who throw very far. So you mix with each other. It's fun to watch, isn't it? I mean, I'm in the middle. I'm not in the wood. I'm not in the far. So I'm just in the middle. So I cannot wait to see who's gonna take it down this weekend. It's gonna be fun to watch. Like Paige Pierce throw far, and then some of the girls who just very good about hit the line. Everybody game. Might be some surprise thing going on this weekend. You never know.
Ohn, how do you think your putting is going to be something you're going to be leaning on here, since these are a bunch of short courses?
I hope so. I mean, come on, right? I haven't practiced a lot of putting. I hope it's helped me here and there. But you never know, because I see a lot of women, they step up more right now. They like some girl, like throw like 300-400 putt a day. I'm like, what? How can you do that? So a lot of girls working hard, they throwing good, they putting better. So that's why I think the putting is gonna help me here and there. But and also whoever practice harder than me, they're gonna took it down. You know what I'm saying? Like hard work pay off, right? So I mean, whoever want to putting good, just go out there and putting. After this, I'm gonna go putting too. So.
I love it. And last question. I love your enthusiasm. I can feel the energy that you're bringing to this weekend. You could play in one of the age-protected divisions if you wanted to.
Yeah.
You're playing FPO.
Yeah.
Is that because of the draw of a major title? Is that ultimately why you want to stay in FPO and try to take this down?
Exactly right. Yeah, because you never know, because if I play very good round for 3 days, I might took it down, or I might be top 5 or top 10. I wanna just, because I feel like I can do good in these 3 courses. So it's not time for me to jump to APO 40 yet on this women's championship, but maybe next year. But I just wanna give myself a chance. You never know, like I said, something can happen, something maybe not, but
And last question from me. What would it say if you can hoist this trophy at the end of this weekend against this incredible field of women? What would it say about your game?
I just gonna say, just keep practice putt and keep practicing, practicing. So I don't know. I think I probably cannot say anything. I'm probably just gonna cry. I'm probably just like have the trophy and cry, and then just no word come out of my mouth. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I wishing that day is coming, so you guys gonna find out what I'm gonna say on that day. So
can't wait. Best of luck this weekend. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Sorry, guys. I'm like.
All right, now here with Deann Carey at the 2021 United States Women's Disc Golf Championship. First of all, welcome to Northern California. I know you're from all the way out on the East Coast, so it's really great to see you on the West Coast. How has your experience been on the best coast, as we say?
Well, I don't know too much about that, but it's been great. We love it here in California. It's very expensive, but other than that, it's great. We love playing in Northern California. Haven't quite ventured to Southern California, but those are probably pretty good too.
Well, one thing that Northern California and North Carolina have in common is pride over woods golf. So kind of break it down a little bit. What's the difference between East Coast woods golf and the West Coast variety you see up here?
Well, we don't have 2 meters. It's the big thing. But no, we might be a little tighter. here has a lot more ground play that you kind of want to do, and ours are really just about hitting really tight lines, but that's really the only difference. Otherwise, it's typically like North Carolina courses you'd see back home.
So I'll take that to mean you're going to feel pretty comfortable with the skill set that you bring to the table. How comfortable are you on these courses after your practice rounds, and what stands out to you about the challenge ahead?
I've gotten a few rounds in at each course, and I feel pretty good. I feel confident on the birdie opportunities that I can get out there, and then I know the longer holes I just have to play for par and then be good, but it's definitely going to be a putting competition out there. And I feel like I'm a pretty good putter, so hopefully I'll be on this weekend.
And you said you're playing in your third U.S. Women's Championship. Just kind of to speak to the growth of the women's game, obviously record-setting numbers, more and more women interested at all levels of competition. Just from your first and your second now to your third, what has the experience been like, and how has that grown?
I was actually doing the math, and from 2019 U.S. Women's, we've grown over 100 women in the field combined. And I think there's almost 20 or 30 growth in the FPO field. And so I'm very happy to see that just since COVID, it's gotten a lot more. And that's very exciting to see.
Awesome. Final question for me is a lot of the players are kind of talking about, like you said, a putting course, but they're also talking about the final day at Rockland being one where you need to post a number. Are you kind of looking at it like that, where do you just need to hang back and then try to post the number the final day? Do you need to try to be aggressive the first 2 days? How do you kind of shape your overall plan for this weekend?
For me, the hardest course is definitely Auburn. And so that's the first day, so I just really be as close to par or even a little bit under as possible just to skate through that day. And then I'm really trying to hit Shady Oaks and Rockland pretty hard, trying to get as many birdies as I can out there and not trying to get any bogeys, but they can happen. But that's really just what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, just going back to the field and this event, really, we got PDGA number 68 playing and PGA number 178948 playing. So what does that mean to you to just be on the course and it's full of women playing and practicing, and FJ12 to FPO all together?
That's great to see, because in the future it's not going to be able to happen again. And so it's great to be in that moment to where you can see that and you can actually see all the hard work that we've put into it for growing the sport.
That's a great answer. I just kind of wanted to follow up on, when you say it won't be able to happen again, do you just mean because there will be so many people coming up into the competitive side, or where do you see the future of the women's game going?
I just see there's going to be so many players coming up, especially if you see now, there's a lot, if you go to any park, there's a lot of families there with little kids that are just throwing, and so there's going to be more and more and more and more players coming up. And so it's going to make tournaments a little harder to get everybody, all the women that play competitively, in one tournament.
And with everybody coming up into the competitive scene, final question for me is, what are your expectations for this weekend? Obviously, the FPO division's had a ton of parity. So many players can come out and win. Where do you see yourself on your journey towards winning a major, and what would it mean to beat or exceed your own personal expectations here?
I definitely want to get a top 10 finish. That would be great. But also, I want to win it. And I definitely think on these three courses, it's anybody's game. Even if you don't throw the longest out there, these courses are so condensed down that as long as you're hitting your lines and you're feeling good on the putting green, I feel like it's anybody's game.
Awesome. Well, go get it. Best of luck. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
body, move it, baby. Move the body. Move it, baby. Move the body. Move it, baby. Move the body.
All right, sitting here with Hailey King, ahead of the United States Women's Disc Golf Championship. First of all, welcome back. We missed you last week. How was your week off?
It was really good. I got to go home, spend some time with family, and that always means a lot, so yeah.
That's awesome. There were some pundits out in the disc golf world that weren't paying attention to you not being there, and they had you as a favorite last week. But some very different style courses you're coming into from what would have been last week at Swenson. Kind of talk about what's your read on these three courses as you've gone through your practice.
I mean, these courses for me feel like, just the normal courses back at home. Like, they're pitch and putt, you have to make the birdies. If you don't, you could lose just missing one birdie. The courses are pretty straightforward, so yeah, get your birdies when you can.
What's your game plan, starting tomorrow? Is it attack, pedal to the metal the entire way, or are there any kind of like trap holes or places you're kind of looking out to pick your spot?
I think with Auburn, there are a lot of like tricky holes where you might go for it and it's not worth going for it. So there are a couple holes where I'm not going to be aggressive. I already planned that out with my caddy. I think it's definitely going to change round by round because of the fact that we only have one round at each course.
Yeah, and you've recently been on some podcasts talking about your relationship with your caddy, Lindsay, and how that sort of is evolving the notion of what a caddy is in disc golf. How crucial is that going to be because you have to play three different courses and see kind of a variety of different looks?
She has a big job this week, very big job.
Awesome. And, undoubtedly you're one of the front runners coming into this event, coming off of just back in October, the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship. You have dominated the PDGA National Tour so far this year. So where is this on your kind of hit list of titles to win and tournaments to take down?
Honestly, I've played this event 3 years in a row. it would be great to get a major, but this isn't one that I'm necessarily looking at and saying, hey, you know, I want this super bad. It has never felt like a major to me, so having the major title doesn't really matter to me, I guess, where like the WNC is now something that I'm like, okay, if that were a major, I'd be like, okay, I want to win that. And it's not even a major, and I'm like, I want to win that more than I want to win this.
How do you kind of look at this event? I mean, obviously, you see a lot of different divisions out here. You see women of all ages from all walks of life. You know, what is kind of the big takeaway for you this week? Why are you out here competing, I guess is a way to ask it.
We get to see the best athletes in the world coming here this week, and even though it is a major, so there's a lot more women coming in to play, and I think it's just going to be a lot of fun to see the up-and-coming talent and see who wins. It's going to be tough this week.
Yeah, with tournaments every weekend, how important is it to you to take that week off and just kind of reset and relax for a little bit? Or was that something that went into your decision to not play? And do you have like a week off, later in the year?
Yeah, I recently found out that I like taking a week off. I like to have the mental space because for me, if my mind isn't right, then there's no way I'm going to win a tournament.
And definitely, we talk about the large field out here. What is the state of women's disc golf to you? Record-setting women's global event that saw women from around the world playing together. 266 out here playing all different divisions. What is the state of women's disc golf, and what's the next step for it?
I think this speaks more than just women's disc golf. I think this speaks for women in sports. We're here. COVID solidified that. And this year we're actually starting to see a lot of women coming out with a great amount of talent and giving all these women a run for the win.
Mahmoud, anything for Hailey?
Yeah, Hailey. So I think a lot of people probably first got to watch you play disc golf in 2018 at this event. It was in Michigan, but this same event. Who's kind of next up for you? Like who's a young player that you have your eyes on that's going to be the next Hailey King?
I don't want to pick any favorites because I know this person, but I think Maria Oliva is definitely a big up-and-comer, and Holly Holland, not sure how you pronounce her last name, so I'm totally sorry if I butchered that. And then also there's another lady, why can't I think of her name? Oh, Ella Hansen. I saw them practicing, and whoo, they're good. I can't wait to watch them play.
I think that they're actually ultimate players. Like I'm pretty sure Ella. Like I know Ella is definitely an ultimate player, and I think Colin might be as well. What's that like for you seeing all these ultimate players coming out? Like they all crush because they're so used to throwing frisbees.
Well, I know actually a lot of ultimate players that found disc golf through ultimate. So it's great to see. We see all the Leah. Again, I don't know how to pronounce her name, so I'm not even gonna try. But she's a great friend of mine. She is an ultimate player and she's playing disc golf, and just being able to have that frisbee background knowledge is extremely helpful in disc golf. We see it with Brody Smith as well. People like throwing frisbees, so if they want to do solo competition, they're going to change to disc golf for that.
Thanks, Hailey. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
I just want to do one follow-up. You said something really insightful. You said, not only is it about the growth of women's disc golf, it's about the growth of women in sport. So I just want to ask you, it's obviously hard to kind of zoom out right before a tournament, but being that you are one of the faces of the next generation of female athletes, how much do you kind of think about that as your path in life? Is it just about disc golf and being the best disc golfer for you, or do you kind of see yourself in the wider conversation of forwarding women's athletics?
I love competing, but I love making an impact on people. So my biggest goal in my disc golf career would be to making the impact on people's lives. What was the rest of that? Sorry.
That's brilliant. That's
yeah?
a brilliant answer, honestly. So best of luck this weekend. Go get them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
body, move it, baby. Move the body. Move it, baby. Move the body.
All right, here with Catrina Allen, and I know you just got done at the Auburn course, so let's start with that off the top. That's where we're starting this weekend, so what's your kind of read on the Auburn disc golf course?
So it's actually the only course I only got one round on, and I think that's not the worst because it seems like each hole has a shot that you're to throw. There's a gap. It's the tightest, I should say. It's more of a wooded course. And tricky lines, but I really feel like if you hit the line they're intending, it's really rewarding. So I like it. I like a good thrower's course.
And how does that shape your overall strategy for the weekend? Obviously move over to Shady for moving day, and then Rockland might be a boat race kind of at the end of this thing.
Yeah, so Shady I was able to play a regular practice round and then run through with the one-shot round. Thank you to, I think, the 13 groups who let me play through because it's busy out here, but I appreciate that. And also, same with Rockland, I definitely dialed in, I think, the last 5 holes because that's where we're finishing, and I wanted to make sure, if I was leading, I had a game plan to lay up, and then some of those finishing holes are risk reward. They're kind of gettable but really tough holes that you could take a 2 or a 4 on. So, yeah.
Yeah, and talk about the last couple of weekends as the tour flows have been a very different style of course from what we're going to see this weekend. When you have to do that week in and week out, make those adjustments, how do you do that? Do you do that by changing out your discs, just changing your mental strategy? How do you make those adjustments every week?
I actually made that adjustment in 2012. I remember not liking certain courses or thinking that my game suited some better, and I remember just thinking, okay, we play all over the country, all different styles of courses. It's windy sometimes, it's not, and so I want to be able to just, no matter what the tour throws at me, be prepared. And so I actually said to Austin, although these might not be the longest we've been playing more, like you said, ball golf style, Jonesboro, longer thrower. My mids feel really great, and I feel like I'm really dialing those in, and so yeah, I feel prepared.
We were talking to Kona earlier, and obviously both of y'all are some of the longer throwers off the tee. She said she was disking down a lot and using a lot more fairways. You just mentioned mids. Is that kind of the same game plan, a little more controllable with the drivers?
Yeah, because that distance fits my mid, so that works out great. I feel like if I execute the line they're asking, I'm going to have a putt. So yeah, mids for sure.
And last question for me. Obviously, this is the United States Women's Disc Golf Championship, so it probably feels a lot different during the practice rounds compared to a normal tour event. Just kind of talk about the vibe that you've seen so far on site this week and what it means to have a women's-only major.
Yeah, we get to be the spotlight, and it's actually been awesome. With disc golf growing so much, I can say in years past maybe the courses were completely dead and there's no one here, and each day the courses are packed, and had a guy say he was waiting all day just to see if I'd come through to get a signature, and that makes me feel really great, feel supported, and it's I'm excited. We haven't had a major in a while. I mean, I guess thanks to the United National Championship or Women's National Championship yesterday, but yeah, I'm excited.
Kind of going back to the style of the course, how do you think how important is it, like, to have a different variety out on tour, where you're not just bombing every week, but you come here and got to shape some lines and got to hit some putts and worry about the ground play. So how important is that out on tour?
I mean, like I said, in 2012, I decided that I wasn't going to. In fact, I feel so bad whenever I get into town. People are like, well, what do you think of the courses? And I'm like, well, I always like the courses because I don't want to spend time, being negative about courses, because that's just going to, then you just already have a bad outtake on. Right. So if I can just play the courses for what they're asking for, and they do. They ask for some mids. They do ask for ground control. I know if I'm out of position, I have to be careful with how I'm throwing an upshot, or if I'm not going to go for a putt, I need to, be really touchy. And some holes you might want to be laying up shorter, and some holes the grass is really thick. So just being aware of all that. And that's what I like about these three courses. Quite different, but I mean, this one gives me a De La feel a little bit. And, Rockland, you're kind of allowed to, you have a little more room. And then Auburn puts us really tight. So.
A couple of weeks ago, we had the Women's Global event. We had so many women running events for the first time, so many women competing in events for the first time. And I think that goes for same case, here this week with a wide variety of women playing.
Yeah.
So what is the state of women's disc golf right now to you, and what are you seeing from young girls and ladies that come up to you on the course or reach out to you on Instagram?
Yeah.
What's the state of women's disc golf right now?
I actually had an interview with Corey, and we were talking a little bit about that. I just really want to encourage women to a couple things. Make sure you work hard and you're prepared. Make sure you're doing things that your competitors aren't doing. If that means getting up before work and putting, or getting up and going for a run, or making sure you're fit, you're eating well. When everyone else is going to the bar and having drinks the night before the tournament, you go home and get some good sleep, be prepared. And then I just want to encourage women, to break the barrier, no matter what they're saying about women as golfers, just go out and keep trying and stay disciplined, and yeah.
Mahmood, anything for Kat?
Yeah, Catrina, these courses being as unique as they are, when I think of your game, I think of someone who has like all these unique shots. Like you have the roller, you have like the sidearm roller, you have like all kinds of different shots. In your practice, did you find that you were using any of those kind of unique lines, or is it going to be pretty straightforward, throwing M4s, PA4s, PA2s, whatever?
I don't throw any of those, no. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. I actually, yeah, there's a couple holes where I'm like, okay, I'm glad I have a roller here, or, yeah. But I feel like throughout the week, my mids are what I'm thinking. I'm throwing a lot of M2s, M4 here and there, and then, yeah, that's really, when I think back to all 3 practice rounds, I think of a couple discs that I just threw a lot. But, however, there are a few places I feel like I could get out of position, and then those shots could really come in with the sidearm roller, having like a touch approach shot here and there, things like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Kat. Good luck.
Thank you.
I just want to follow up one question. You said
Yeah.
you're throwing a lot of mids. And
Yeah.
mids are probably the least talked about disc, at least in the modern
Yeah.
iteration of the sport. Are you the best mid thrower?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
How
am I? I don't know.
Let me phrase the question this way. If you were to kind of rank the parts of your game, how confident, like how high up there is your mid game? Is it as good as your roller? Is it,
Yeah.
slightly underneath? How do you view it?
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know. I actually lost an M2 at GBO, and then it came back, and the disc I put in to replace it actually fit perfectly in between my like straight M2 and my stable M2, or like my flip up M2. So now maybe that's what I'm feeling. I just feel like I have all 3 of the shots that I need at all times. Like my discs are just great, and that's kind of building some confidence over the last few weeks.
Okay, and last question, because you just mentioned a new disc in the bag. What
Okay.
color is it? What stamp does it have? Because all the collectors out there are going to watch on this broadcast.
So I have, to help you out, there's a white one with a faded pink team stamp, and that's my flip up M2. And then I have a white one with a silvery stamp, and that's the straight one. And then I have a white one with a blue big star stamp, and that's the stable one. So you'll see a lot of those this week.
All right, so pay attention to the stamp color when you pull out the white mid. All right, thanks, Catrina.
Thank you, guys.
All right, now here with Holly Finley ahead of the 2021 United States Women's Disc Golf Championship. Good to see you out in NorCal. How you feeling? How's the game feeling? And are you excited?
Well, you know I'm excited. Are you kidding me? The game feels really good. I'm loving it out here. I haven't visited Cali very much, just for a couple of events over the last several years. So I'm really stoked to be out here at these classic courses and to check out how many birdies I can get this weekend.
I know you're a fan of woods golf. I've heard you say it many a time. So, tell us about it. Northern California, we do kind of claim some woods golf out here. What do you think about the courses in general?
I'm into it. I love the courses. I think they're a lot of fun. There's a lot of birdie opportunities and some legit pars that you need to have good drives and solid putts to capture. I think it's a good variety of courses. I love playing 3 courses for a major. I wouldn't mind playing more. And I'm just really excited to see, how well I can do this weekend.
What is your game plan? Is this a start fast, continue fast, finish fast? Is this pick your spots? You said you're interested to see how many birdies you can get, so do you have a low number in mind?
I don't really choose a number. I just sort of go out and play with feeling, how I'm feeling. If I'm really accurate that day, I'm going to put everything in the circle, and then it's all about the putting. So when I was practicing the other 2 courses, I had a lot of birdie opportunities, more than I expected. I thought, wow, if I could just make the putts, this could really be something spectacular. Of course, I had to look up some old scores from previous events just to get a random idea of what type of ratings they might have. Sometimes you want to know if I can hover around 55, that should be a decent score. So I checked that out just for fun, but overall, I'm just going to go for all the birdies.
All right, starting fast. And, obviously this is the United States Women's Disc Golf Championship. Yeah. The women are in the spotlight this week. Talk about what that means to have a major that specifically highlights not the broadcast, of course, will highlight the FPO division, but we do have a lot of different divisions out here. I'm just wondering if you can kind of speak to the vibe and the difference from other tour events.
Yeah, it's a really special feeling to be out here and see people of all skill levels and ages competing on the same course. I met a famous woman named Tita yesterday. She's also on Team Innova, and she's PDGA number 83. So that was, I don't know, it just made my eyes water. I don't know why. It just felt really special to me. So it's a really amazing event. There's a lot of good camaraderie, and you meet a lot of new women coming into the sport who are excited to meet you as a professional. People coming up and asking for my autograph, which still feels a little weird, and people are really liking the van wrap. I'm getting a lot of pictures of those being shared. So I'm having a lot of fun out here, meeting up with a lot of new faces and old faces alike.
Mahmoud, anything for Holly?
Yeah, Holly, the last time we saw you at a big tournament where you were up near the top was Texas State's, which is also a very wooded course. Kind of not quite, it's a little more wooded than what we're going to see this weekend, but still kind of in that same ballpark. What kind of confidence do you have coming into this weekend that you can kind of shake things up at the top?
Oh yeah, I came out here, I played a couple holes. All my drives were in the circle, and I said, wow, this is a place for me. I could win here. So I have all the confidence. I have no insecurities about anything. The putt feels good. The drives feel good. I'm hitting the lines. So yeah, I'm just going to walk in there with my head held high, and my, dreams are big. I'm going to shoot for the stars.
Yeah, what would you say would be what are you going into this weekend thinking if I need to finish I need to finish at this place for this to be a good weekend for me?
Oh, number one, obviously, I want to win. Don't come around just to play for fun. I come to win, and fun is an afterthought. It's always fun. I'm playing disc golf, so I'm a huge competitor. I'm always here to win. I always want to win. But at the end of the day, if I don't, I'm back again the next weekend with a smile on my face, ready to start over. So I think these courses really suit my game. I've placed 4th at women's before and 2nd at women's, so it's about time that I bring it home and do something big.
And yeah, one last question. Speaking of doing something big, a lot of women, Paige mentioned, a lot of the women have mentioned that this is going to be a putter's weekend. It's going to be you're going to need to putt well to win this weekend. You're one of the better putters on tour. How important is that going to be this weekend for you personally?
I would also say that statement, not only to just agree with people, but I would have said that independently. It is going to be mostly about the putting. There's a lot of just make a drive, make a putt for our division. And I think that's really what it's going to come down to. There are a couple of shot shaping and lines you need to hit. You know, this is a park style course. Most of them are park style courses. They're not really what I would say heavily wooded. So as long as you can sort of make it halfway to the basket and give yourself an opportunity, I think you could score well here, which I plan on doing over and over again.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
Just one final question for you. You said you've gotten a fourth recently, you've got a second recently, and you're here to win. So, you know, in that moment, if you're able to hoist this trophy and call yourself the 2021 women's champion, United States women's champion, what would that mean to you in your career?
Oh, that would be the highlight of my career so far. I haven't yet captured a giant win, so I'm definitely on the hunt, and I'm on year 9 of touring and playing disc golf. So it's about time that everything comes together and, you know, the victory happens. So I really believe that I have all the skills that it takes to win something like this, and I hope that I can rise to the occasion.
Awesome. Well, best of luck this weekend. I tell you to have fun, but I know you're going to. Enjoy it.
Thanks so much.
All right, here with Ellen Widboom. Boomer, back in NorCal. It's good to see you up here. How you feeling?
Better. Yeah, a lot better. I got my COVID shot yesterday or 2 days ago, so I was kind of out and about. But yeah, I feels good to be back to see friends and actually some family in town and take care of some loose ends that I haven't taken care of since I left the military. So very therapeutic time here in Cali.
Awesome. Well, obviously, you know that great that you got the COVID shot. Congratulations on that. And a lot of courses to practice, and that cuts into some of the time. So, have you gotten time to prepare yourself for this competition?
I have, but I used to live in the area when I was in the military for 10 years. So these courses were like my backyard. So I guess I haven't really thought about it in terms of I didn't have enough time to practice. But I think with the longer days and daylight, and I mean the sun's up at 6 and it doesn't set till 8, I think we have plenty of time to practice. It was kind of a quick turnaround, but it's only 3 days, which is a whole nother story, I guess, for a different time. Yeah, I've had plenty of time to practice. Made the most out of it. They're not really long courses, so it's easy to get 2 done in a day. But again, it's a little bit easier for me because I'm used to these courses because I played them so many times.
Yeah, and I mean, you've gone out, on tour, gotten a wealth of experience competing against the best in the world, and like you said, now you're kind of back in the backyard. What are you bringing from your tour life back to that kind of life you had before as a maybe hobby or casually competitive disc golfer? How do those two worlds intersect, and what can you bring from that experience?
My game has changed since I've left California. I was throwing a lot of overstable plastic. Learning on the road and all the different courses I've played has led me to change up pretty much my entire bag, minus a few discs. So coming out to play the courses, yeah, I know the lines, but now I'm able to throw a couple different lines and a little further just from my experience in the past 3 years on the road playing so much.
How do you break these courses down for your particular game plan? Is this where you're going to tee off tomorrow at Auburn, start fast, finish fast at Rockland on Sunday, or do you really have to pick your spots? How do you approach it?
Auburn's tough. It's always been tough for me. I think it's the most difficult course out of the 3. So tomorrow's going to be interesting for everybody. I think it's a score separator, so coming out of the gate at Auburn is going to be pretty cool to see what the scores are at and where we're all sitting. But yeah, pick the placement. It's hard pan out here. I'm pretty used to it. I rely on skips a lot. That's kind of half the game, especially here at Shady, trying to pick a spot where you want it to skip off of, not necessarily land. So that's kind of my game plan.
Yeah, and last question for me is, what are your expectations for competing this weekend, and what do you see as the key factor in your game to either meeting or achieving those expectations?
Man, expectations. I think I just don't want to take it for granted that I know these courses. It's easy to kind of get in, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing and I played here so long, it's going to be easy. No, I don't think it's going to be easy. Tournament mindset always changes and it becomes a little bit more difficult, so I need to just hole by hole, course by course. I feel like there's some type of Disney song in there, but I think just one hole at a time.
Ellen, just talking about the event, it's a record-setting number of ladies playing in the FPO field and just the entire tournament itself. So how have you seen the women's game evolve to where it is today? Is it highly competitive as it is, and people from all walks of life, young, older, coming out and competing?
Right. Yeah, I think this is the biggest FPO field.
Biggest, both.
Yeah, that's incredible. I kind of glanced at the numbers. I don't really do a lot of research as far as that goes, so that's really nice to know. And I heard that there's a lot of locals playing too, and the scene was kind of big when I was here for the women's. I know they tried to promote it, but over the past 3 years, it's nice to see that it's grown so much, and I've heard a lot of locals are playing, so that's encouraging.
Yeah, talk about the scene a little bit. It seems like there's a lot of pride and very competitive, and you got to bring it every day. A local league to even score there. So, what is this NorCal scene like?
Man, it's great. It's like a family. That's why it's so nice to be back. And I think just having the 2 pro shops at each course too, that helps out a lot. They always have clubs, leagues on weekends and weeklies. And even the guys will bring their girlfriends out or significant others, and then they'll be like, oh, there's more women out here. So it's been really encouraging to see that, and I'm excited.
Mahmoud, anything for Ellen?
Well, what's up?
How you doing? So one thing I want to talk to you about so you're a tour winner. You've already won a big tournament. You have that experience. How valuable and you've won it on a wooded course, not too dissimilar from these ones. How is that gonna help this weekend if you're gonna be creeping up near the top on Sunday?
Yeah, I hope to creep up there. Yeah, it is most of them are wooded courses, so I think my short game's going to come into play a lot. It is nice to be throwing mostly sidewinders out here. Those are kind of vetted for this type of golf. So, yeah, it's like a mini Idlewild, I guess, maybe like a third of Idlewild. But, yeah, I think the short game's going to help me in the long run.
Awesome. And you mentioned that you've played these courses, you know these courses. I've heard from some other players. I've heard from like Paige, for example, that it's actually harder for her to play in Texas because she like knows the courses. Do you feel like you have like a similar experience here where it's almost a little bit harder because you know you can park all these holes, you know you've played this place perfect before? What's that going to be like this weekend?
So that reminds me, there was a tournament once at Lagoon Valley, and that's my actual home course, the one I learned how to play on, and I didn't win. And I think I took third or something. I chundered, and I had so many shots that I knew to make in my mind, and I think the pressure got to me. So really, it's kind of coming out here and being in that same mindset of, hey, don't let the pressure get to you. Just kind of treat it like a casual round, but wear the nice clothes and make sure you mark your disc, but have fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Boomer.
Thanks, man.
All right, Ellen, good luck this week.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, now here with VVD, Vanessa Van Dyken, ahead of the 2021 U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship. First of all, welcome to NorCal. How was your break? It's been a couple weeks since we've seen you. How are things going?
Really nice. I was feeling really sore after the back-to-back tournaments with Mid-America Open and DDO, and now I feel like back to normal, refreshed, so I'm really excited going into this weekend.
Yeah, and that's been a little bit of a trend lately in disc golf at all levels of competitive play. I feel like just kind of picking your spots and, how do you go about thinking about that as a touring professional? Do you just pick the tournaments you like, the style of courses you like? What goes into that for you?
So for myself, I try and pick what makes the most sense when you're driving a car, like stopping from tournament stop to tournament stop. And then outside of that, along the way, when I'm actually playing in tournaments, I go by how I feel. So if my lower back is feeling sore or something like that, then I'll rest a couple of weeks. And even though I had planned to maybe play a couple more events, I know it's better to rest. I learned that one the hard way, actually, with my trigger finger.
Yeah, and I know that's been a little bit since then. That's all good. You're feeling 100% ready to go?
Yeah, I actually had surgery in the off season on New Year's Eve, and it took about 6 weeks of recovery, and then it was a little stiff, and I started my first event back was Waco, like a big event, so I just have been easing back in since then, but I am all good to go, no problems, and I'm really happy, and it was a good learning experience for me, so that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, so we have some interesting courses, some pretty signature, classic NorCal courses up here. Just wanted to get your initial thoughts on the tracks you're going to play and anything that kind of sticks out in your mind as a strategy point.
So I would say Shady, and I believe the other one is Auburn. Majority of the holes are finishing on the right. There isn't a lot of variety, so I'm a little disappointed with the course design, and I feel like it doesn't properly test us on all of the skill sets that we should have to be a major champion or to hold that title. The best one, or my favorite one out of all of them, is Rockland because it's has more variety, but I'm just going to try and focus on the positives this weekend. Like, the weather's beautiful, NorCal is amazing, the locals here are some of the nicest people I've ever, encountered on my travels, so there are a lot of things to be thankful for.
Yeah, and well, Rockland's the favorite track. The final day, I've heard a lot of chatter that this could be a really low-scoring course that you really need to go out there and kind of post a number. Is that your take on it as well?
Yeah, I think so, especially a lot of the distances are pretty short and within range, so I feel like there's going to be a lot of really low scores here, and especially for people who have a really strong sidearm in their game, it's going to be difficult to compete with those players who have that skill set.
And then with so many, like you said, with so many holes being reachable, a lot of the field, the distance might not be as much of an advantage as it is at other places. Talk about how do you play golf knowing that the mistakes could cost you and that it can come down just to the little things you're doing right or wrong?
So for myself, I just try and simplify it to I just try and focus on hitting my line and just my performance, and I kind of let the outcome or the score and everything else kind of melt away, all the things that I can't control, and just try and narrow down and focus on the things that I do have control over. And in the end, the only thing I have control over is my intention. So that's all I focus on, is the shot I want to make, and then I kind of sit back and see if my body will connect with my mind and do that.
We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the fact that this is the women's spotlight. This is the United States Women's Disc Golf Championship. Does that translate to a different kind of vibe on the practice days? What's it like seeing groups of all women out there getting ready for a competitive tournament mindset? Just kind of talk about your experience seeing that.
Well, I love seeing a lot of women. There's definitely a lot more, but I've actually seen more men than I have women while practicing, because this is a really popular spot for disc golf, and there's so many locals out playing during our practice rounds. It was a little bit disappointing when I have to wait on so many groups, but it's also a blessing because it just shows how much disc golf is growing. There's so many brand new players out there, and the courses are packed, so I think this is a really exciting time for the sport.
Mahmood, anything for Vanessa?
Yeah, you mentioned that these courses really play well for someone with a sidearm. I know that you don't necessarily have that shot, but you do have the meteor turnover.
Yeah.
How much are we going to see the meteor out there, the Vanessa Van Dyken meteor?
Oh, you're gonna see it a lot. I have a few meteors in my bag that are all beat in kind of at different stages, so I'm gonna be rotating through those all the time.
Do you think you're at a disadvantage not having a sidearm, or do you think that your turnover shot is going to work the same as those sidearm angles?
My turnover shot does work, but I think the separation is going to be in the consistency. So it's a more inconsistent shot to have to rely on a turnover rather than a hyzer.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned the courses a little bit in the design. I know you have like a course design background. I know you've been out on the course designing courses. Kind of what do you think could be changed to kind of improve what you guys are? Obviously, you can't do it for this weekend, but like just looking ahead, looking forward, what are you looking for in your major level courses?
I think it would just be nice if before we have a major tournament somewhere, if there could be someone who comes out and inspects the course and makes sure that they're testing a variety of shots. I think it's important to have like sidearm holes or hyzer holes and straight holes, and make sure that we're well versed in all of those shots with our mid-ranges and distance drivers and whatnot. So basically just making sure there's a variety of shots, so we're being tested on all the skill sets that you need to have to be the best player. I didn't catch the like very beginning of that question. I don't know if I answered that the way he wanted.
Perfect. You're great. Thanks, Vanessa.
Just wanted to follow up with just one or two final questions. Tournament kicks off tomorrow. What are your expectations for your play? What's a good weekend for you here?
Well, that's hard because I know what I'm capable of, and then I have an idea of what others are going to be shooting, and I feel like those aren't matching up. So I'm just gonna have, like, the only way I can go into this and be successful is if I go into it with no expectations, and then, like I said, just focus on my performance and not the outcome.
Awesome. Well, hey, who has the most fun wins, right?
You're right.
All right, have fun out there. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, here with Ella Hansen, ahead of the 2021 United States Women's Disc Golf Championship. And first of all, I just want to say I think it's super cool that we first met when you were operating a camera, and now you are the one being filmed. So congratulations. That's a hard barrier to cross. Just kind of start there. You know, it's been your name, your stock has been skyrocketing in another sport in a professional capacity. So I'm just wondering, what has your experience been like as a professional disc golfer this year?
It's been really cool to get out on tour for at least some of it. It's a little different, playing at the top level of disc golf than it is playing top level ultimate. But it's been super fun. I really have enjoyed everyone I've been meeting everywhere I've been, courses, and it's been a lot of fun.
Since you are a professional ultimate player, first, you know the pressure of expectations at it climbing to the top, the pinnacle of a sport. Talk about going into a new challenge. You're playing with and against some women that have been playing since they were, yay high. How do you kind of temper those expectations and then still go out and attack in a competitive mindset?
Yeah, it's been cool to be able to play with and compete with those, the top women out there, and I think that something that it's been helpful for me to do is, just to remember, I've barely been playing. I've been playing for almost a year and a half, and so, knowing that some of these women have been playing like 5, 10, 20, 15, like a long time, that's really helpful for me in sort of understanding, I've got some really good moments and just working on the consistency, and like I know that I've got time to get there too and keep working at it.
Yeah, so we're up in Northern California on some tracks that are very classic Northern California design. They've been around, been competed on for many years. What's your kind of takeaway, and how do you fit these courses to your game?
Yeah, I think obviously last weekend was a pretty good fit to my game, like a really long course, and these are quite a bit different than that. But I also think that something I also bring from Ultimate is the ability to scramble pretty well, and I think that at this course at Shady Oaks it's pretty important, and at the other courses as well, and I think that that's something that I'm hoping to have shine in my game this weekend for sure, out on the course, and just making sure that I'm hitting my lines and throwing it straight, because if you're hitting your lines here at any of these courses, it's you're probably going to do pretty well.
How do you think about your game as a touring professional? What do you sort of rely on? Maybe if things aren't going your way, are you a drive first? Are you a putt first? How do you kind of break that down?
I think that my driving is probably like one of the stars of my game for sure. But I also think my upshots, when I'm able to really focus on them, I think that that's another ultimate thing of just being able to throw like touch shots, which I think at courses like this are really important. Last weekend we played on grass that was like pretty catchy, and you could kind of just throw it up there and let the grass catch it and maybe be inside the circle. But this weekend it's going to be a lot more touchy kind of shots where you want to slide it up to the green, or it's like all hard pack dirt and it could skip or slide like 70, 80, 100 feet long in the pin if you give it too much. So I feel like that's something I'm going to be focusing on, and looking to be really consistent in my upshots.
When you think about this weekend, your expectations for yourself, where are they? Where are you in your development, and what's a win for you this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, this is my first ever major, so I really would love to get a top 10 or top 5 finish. I had my first couple of top 10 finishes at like big events in the past couple of weeks, which has been awesome. So hoping to keep that going this weekend for sure.
And you are playing in your first major. It is notable that it is the United States Women's Championship. Women are the entire focus of this event, which that's a little bit different than I think you've probably seen so far out on tour. And juxtaposing that with Ultimate, I know Ultimate and disc golf have different levels of women's participation in the sport. So I was just wondering if you could kind of speak to that and, your thoughts on growing the women's game to be at a more equitable level.
Yeah, I think, we look at the PDGA stats, I think it's like 7% or maybe less are women signed up for the PDGA, and, it's not that much better in Ultimate, but it definitely is better. I think it's more like 30-70 or something, but yeah, I think that I've been really encouraging all my friends to get out and play disc golf. I have a couple of friends down here who probably wouldn't have come if I didn't, beg them to come, which is exciting. And I think that, making more opportunities for women like this, I know some people have talked about like, making this an AM only event or a pro only event, and I think that that's an interesting concept, and I also think that, one of the values of this is that these AM women, in young women, like, people in intermediate or in the age-protected division can come out and know that they're playing the same tournament as Paige Pierce, as Catrina Allen, like, as those top players on tour, and I think that being able to see yourself in that position is really important, and having that representation, and I think that, is seen in all across sports media, just media and events and all sorts of things, being able to feel connected to, the stars of a sport, or feel like you can be that person at some point, I think is really important, especially for the growth of the women's game. But it is really awesome to see, the increased participation in the WGEs this year, And in this event, I'm really excited. Obviously, this is, I think, one of the biggest FPO fields and fields in general that this tournament has ever had, and obviously that I've played in, so I'm really excited about that.
Awesome. And, what was it for you where you kind of wanted to really make the leap, especially coming from a sport which has a greater gender equity in participation to disc golf? What was the kind of thing that said, hey, I can go out there and do this, I can go make a difference or be competitive? What was it for you?
Yeah, I guess I feel like my little barrier to entry at the top level of this sport was a little bit lower, just because I have I played Ultimate for 12 years at a really high level and have those disc skills already. And I think that when I started playing the sport, it was just fascinating to me, and I really enjoyed. I played by myself pretty much for the first 6 months that I was playing disc golf. I didn't really play with anybody else. And then I met Zoe Andyke in Eugene, and that was pretty eye-opening for me. That was the first time I had ever seen a pro play in person, basically. And basically her belief in me and seeing the potential in me as a player is honestly what has really spurred me into competing at these tournaments, because I felt having watched a lot of disc golf, I could see that I could throw pretty far and outdrive probably most of the field, but then I was the rest of my game's fine. But really having the belief and support of Zoe has been, I think, instrumental in getting me out here and getting me competing at this high level and continuing to push for more.
Undoubtedly a tremendous ambassador for the game. All right, one fun one before we let you go. Harder for you right now, competing at the top level, or and learning to tour with these great players, or learning to film the shots when you were learning that part?
It's hard on both sides. I mean, so I filmed at USDGC in 2018 and in 2020. So, over the course of 4 days, both times, you get better every time, and that's true both for on the disc golf side, and you learn more about the course each time, both for filming and for playing. I do think that filming is physically harder. Shout out to all the camera crews. It's tough. You got that heavy backpack. Sometimes, most days, you're probably doing, walking the course at least twice with a heavy backpack, having to kind of run around, carry your camera, get in position, try not to distract people. It's pretty intense. I know that, after I've filmed disc golf tournaments, I'm just I can't do anything. I'm going to bed. I just got to sleep it off. And yeah, I think that that's also just an interesting thing coming from Ultimate, where you're playing so many tournaments in a day or games in a day that you can't really even get enough food in your body. So just trying to understand the different ways to keep yourself fueled but not stuff yourself or whatever throughout the day and throughout the weekend has been interesting for me. But yeah, I would give a shout out to all those camera crews. I think that's pretty challenging for sure.
Well, no camera duties this week. You get to be the star. Go out there and have some fun.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks so much. right, here with Madison Walker at the 2021 United States Women's Disc Golf Championship. First of all, how are you feeling? How's the game feeling, and are you excited for this weekend?
Feeling good. I'm tired. OTB was long and hard, and then we, had to cram in a lot of practice rounds this week. So it's been hot. We haven't really busted out the pants yet this year until just last week. So, and then inconsistency with the injury is still a thing. So I'm feeling kind of weird, kind of tired, holding on for dear life. I took last year off, so I'm a little bit out of disc golf shape. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that was kind of going to be my next question. I know you've been dealing with some injuries, but you also decided to take the year off for very understandable reasons.
Mm-hmm.
How has that process been getting back to where you were in a sport that's just kind of exploded even more than it was in the past 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, following Ella is like a good example of what's happened while I was gone. I mean, she's unbelievable. I'm like her biggest fan. And there's so many other women that are coming in and killing it. And so when you come back after a year off, you're like unpolished and you're injured and you have to do weird tape and everything. It feels a little strange because you have to be at the peak of your game to be competitive. And the peak of my game 2 years ago is very different than the peak of my game now and what is required to be competitive. So those two things are I'm kind of refiguring out how to match it up, and also trying to relearn the game since I've had to bounce back from the injury. So
yeah, what during this process of kind of relearning the game, what have you discovered about yourself as a golfer? Are you kind of prioritizing different things, different shots? What is it for you?
My mental game needs a lot of work. I learned that last week on those hard courses. When you're in the sun, everything wears on you a little bit. So I've been working on that, and then putting too has been a challenge, just because you kind of have to let 3 or 4 or 5 strokes per round go just from the weird tape. But that's all part of mental game. It's understanding that that's going to happen, accepting it, and then still being able to push through and move into my shot. So thank God I had a lot of experience before this. I had years on tour, so that's like getting on a feature card or getting on anything like that. I don't have the nerves, which is nice because I've been there, I've done that. I know what's going to happen out there, but definitely working through the injury has been the biggest thing.
With where you're at with your rehab and recovery right now in your game, how do you match up with these courses? What are sort of your big notes in your mental caddy book, or maybe write it down however you do it?
I was excited. U.S. Women's, you always there's so much cool women action happening. But it's U.S. Women's is notorious for having a little bit different courses than we see on tour. So it's exciting to be able to play like a little bit of a shorter course and sometimes more technical. So I'm excited to kind of bust out different parts of my game that I think will make me a little bit more competitive. I don't necessarily have as much distance as I used to have, so I'm excited about that. Excited to throw a lot more sidearms this week, and that's something that I've been trying to dial in. I have to throw it with 3 fingers, so that's been interesting to learn over the past 6 months to a year. So yeah, I think scrambling, doing a lot of scrambling off the tee, if that makes sense, like more scrambly type shots off the tee instead of just bombing drives, and having a little bit shorter shots will be some strengths that could play to my game.
Is it start fast, pedal to the metal for you, or more, got to pick your spots and take the birdies when they come?
I wish I knew how to do that second part, but I am pedal to the metal at all times. Like, I don't know how to lay up. It probably would save me a lot of strokes, but I think it's part of my game plan. The second I try to play safe or try to pick my landing zone, all of a sudden I find myself in even more trouble. So I play aggressive all the time, and that works for me.
Something else that's been pedal to the metal, of course, is the growth of women's disc golf in general, both casually and competitively. What are your thoughts on having a women's only major where you and all the different divisions of female competitors are the focus for the weekend? How special is that?
I mean, the U.S. Women's is in a weird place right now. There's some growing pains. It's cool because we have this like legendary, historical, awesome thing where we do get to have all the divisions there together, and it's so cool to have a whole gallery full of women coming and checking you out. That doesn't happen when you're on tour. You're half the time you're hoping for a gallery, the other half of the time it's not all women, and that's something really cool to look out and see at U.S. Women's in particular every year. On the other hand, it is a little bit weird to have a professional event like a major with so many divisions, and so it's hard for the tournament director, it's hard for everyone involved to plan something like that and make it make sense. So it's there's growing pains, they're noticeable, but also it's really cool to have like such a historical event
still happening, because you don't see it in other sports. You don't have this type of event where the fans, especially the female fans, can come out and see what inspires them and get them to want to grow into maybe being a touring pro, or at least, just being a big fan and supportive of other women playing.
And, total admission that the day before the tournament isn't always the best place to ask this question, but where do you kind of go from here to sort of bring those two things together, or what do you see the future more generally?
And I mean, there's a lot of hard questions this week. So, I was actually joking around I played with Hailey and Vanessa, Maria, and Erica yesterday, and we were kind of talking about getting asked that type of question in an interview, like, how to grow the women's part of the sport, how to make the changes that we need, and we're all like, well, I don't know. That's a big question, but I mean, it's complex. I think there's a lot of different things to ask, a lot of different ways to make the event better. But that's a hard one. And I think the thing about it is we know for a fact that women's events are one of the biggest ways to grow women in the sport and to get retention. We know that women's events are everyone's favorite thing to remember, everyone's number one reason for coming back and playing tournaments. So U.S. Women's is obviously going to be a big thing for retention of women coming back and wanting to compete again. So it's hard to say what could improve or what could be different, but with the FPO field, the touring professionals growing as big as they are, and for how professional disc golf is becoming and esteemed, there's a weird balance in there, and we'll figure it out.
Warrants further discussion, I'm sure. Going back to kind of the weekend and you as a competitor, you might have answered this a little bit before, but sort of what are your expectations? What can you walk away from here on Sunday and go, hey, that was a win if I can get to this?
I came out this year wanting to place well in the Pro Tour, just because that is the esteemed tour right now, and so I have that goal in mind. Everything else at majors, they are a little bit of a shiny spot on the schedule, and you have obviously a goal to do well there, but in reality, after OTB, after coming back on tour and refiguring out how to do the tour grind after taking so much time off, I would just be stoked to have a really awesome inside the circle putting percentage. That's my only goal.
It's good to have them achievable, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Madison. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank
and
you
we'll
so
talk
much,
to you
Amy.
soon.
Yeah.
Move it, baby. Move it, body.